So what is the real story behind this Kurt Cobain mugshot? Well, we're going to go on a bit of a deep dive here in this video, so come along, we'll take a look at it. So first up, it goes like this. Kurt was arrested twice during his teenage years, once in 1985, once in 1986. So according to the Cobain book Heavier Than Heaven, the 1985 arrest, that was on July 23rd. Now, this was for the spray painting that Kurt did on the bank wall, the infamous story, we all know it. So that story goes, on that night in July, Kurt was out with two friends, Buzz Osborne and Matt Dillard. The police were patrolling, caught them in the act. Dillard and Osborne were able to flee, they got away, but Kurt was caught. Suddenly, the boy bolted and ran 2 blocks before the patrol car caught up with him. Once it did, he stopped and was handcuffed. He gave his name as Kurt Donald Cobain and was a picture of politeness. And so when Kurt got to the station that night, he had to write and sign a statement, and it read, "Tonight, while standing behind Seafirst Bank in the alley by the library talking to 3 other people, I wrote on the Seafirst building. I don't know why I did it, but I did. What I put on the wall was, ain't got no how whatchamacallit. Now I see how silly it was for me to have done this, and I'm sorry that I did. When the police car came into the alley, I saw him, and I dropped the red marker that I had used. He was fingerprinted, had mugshots taken, and was then released, but required to show up in court for a hearing a few weeks later. He received a $180 fine, a suspended 30-day sentence, and was warned not to get into any more trouble." So here is where we come around some discrepancies. So according to that book, Heavier Than Heaven, this was in July of 1985. But everywhere you look online about this, people always match this mugshot from 1986, as you can see the date here. They match this 1986 mugshot of Kurt with this 1985 offense. But in truth, this mugshot actually relates to his second arrest, which was in 1986, of course, the following year, related to a completely different offense. It also states in the book here that for this 1985 spray painting, Kurt didn't spend a night in jail, he was released. Although on a lot of things you read about this online, they always say that Kurt did spend a night in jail. Maybe did, maybe didn't. So I'm just going by what the book says here. So that's clear and simple. 1985, spray paints the wall, gets arrested, but then is released. Now, 1986, the following year, this is where the mugshot comes into play. And this is where Kurt did go to jail, and it goes like this. On May 18, 1986, Kurt again fell under the care and supervision of the Aberdeen Police Department. At 12:30 in the morning, police were called to an abandoned building at 618 West Market, and Officer John Green found Kurt climbing around on a roof, seemingly intoxicated. Green remembered Kurt being a nice kid, if a little scared. Kurt was charged with trespassing and being a minor in possession of alcohol by consumption. When the cops found that he had an outstanding warrant for malicious mischief, he had actually failed to pay the fine for the graffiti arrest, plus an earlier alcohol arrest from Seattle, and he couldn't come up with bail, they put him in jail. The cell he stayed in was straight out of an old gangster movie. Iron bars, concrete floor, no ventilation. On his statement, Kurt listed a bad back under medical conditions and described himself as 19 years old, 135 pounds, 5 foot 9 inches, brown hair and blue eyes. He exaggerated in describing both his height and weight. This next part talks about the character of Lamont Schillinger. Many who know Kurt's story will know that name, a family that he stayed with for a short time. Basically, while he was homeless, they took him in. Kurt used his one phone call to dial Lamont Schillinger and beg him to bail him out. Lamont decided his parenting of Kurt Cobain had gone far enough and that Kurt would have to get out of this jam by himself. Lamont did visit the next day, and even though it was against Lamont's religion, he brought Kurt a carton of cigarettes. Unable to raise bail, Kurt stayed 8 days. Aberdeen friends remember him being so scared from all the images of prison films he'd seen over the years that he didn't say a single word to another inmate during his entire stay. So as I say, you look online, Get all sorts of different dates and times of when these incidences occurred. But if I'm going by Heavier Than Heaven, an official published book, this mugshot doesn't actually relate to the spray painting on the wall at all. But this mugshot, as you can see by the dates on it, relates to Kurt's May 1986 arrest, where he was arrested for climbing on that abandoned building. This is the actual building, by the way, as we see it today. It was abandoned at the time. He was intoxicated while doing that, and he was arrested that night and did go to jail, and that was for 8 days. So I just wanted to take a bit of a deeper look at that and clear that up. And so how this all came about and how I found out about all this, I was simply just gonna do a video on the time that Kurt went to jail, and so I assumed it was for the spray painting. The mugshot went with the spray painting, as everybody says. Spent a night in jail, and that was it. But when I actually started to do my research, started to find out more about this, some places online tell you that the spray painting was in 85, some say it was in 86. None of the dates ever matched up, so I started thinking something's not quite right here. And that's when I delved into my Heavier Than Heaven book. Some people I know don't like that book, some of the stuff in it, but with something like this, I think they've got the dates and times right. And it never matched up anyway. People saying the spray painting was in 85, you clearly look at the mugshot, it says 86 as the date, so they were for two separate things. So that's the conclusion I came to, largely going off the info from Heavier Than Heaven, and that seems to make a lot more sense as to what actually happened. So there it is, guys. You may even have more information on these two Cobain arrests from his youth, but as it stands, this seems to be the way it actually happened. So thanks guys for tuning in. As always, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll catch you next time.